Alright, okay, good evening. Welcome to today's session over here. Okay, so as usual, what we're gonna do is to walk through the market, okay, and update you on some of the things that you want to keep an eye on. Okay, and then we'll take a couple of questions and then we'll do a quick closing and update you on some of the events that are upcoming, right? So this week here, if you take a look at the events calendar, okay, we don't really have a lot of kind of like news releases in terms of economic data. We do have some PMIs coming in from Europe side, from UK side, as well as the US side. But again, these PMIs here are not gonna be like super important. I don't think it's gonna create like huge volatility or sudden movement in the market. So not much of a significance, to be honest. Okay, but on the other side, we do have this event here called the BRICS Summit. Okay, I think this is gonna be important. For those of you who have the opportunity to join us, I think last Sunday. I mean not yesterday, but the previous week. Okay, one of the speaker actually shared in depth in terms of like what is BRICS and why is it significant, right? So if you actually had the opportunity to join in, you probably would have understood why this is important and how is it going to relate to the US dollar from a global macro perspective. Now, if you did not manage to join, basically I'll summarize a little bit of the importance over here for everyone. The BRICS Summit basically is a meeting with some of the major countries that are dealing a lot in terms of energy and commodities, mainly in terms of like petroleum, fossil fuel, etc. And they're basically meeting to discuss on the opportunity or the potential of reducing their trade reliance using the US dollar, right? So that is something that I think is not new, is not foreign. The conversation about will the dollar still remains as a global reserve currency has been, brought up I think a couple of years back. Now we would probably not see any sudden loss in terms of like US dollar lose its stand as a global reserve currency in the short term. But this is something that would likely happen, down the road. Okay, it's just a matter of time, and another quote unquote superpower would then rise up, right? So if you actually study also the works and the research from Ray Dalio, he kind of wrote a book, if I'm not mistaken, late last year. It was really published this year as well. The book title, World Change Order. The Changing World Order. Um, he actually studied, way back in history, how superpower rise and fall, right? How supernation rise and fall as well. And it's not something that is new. It happened in the past before, and therefore, if history repeats itself, hey, there's a very good potential down the road. The US would lose its superpower, and then the next country would then step up. But obviously, for now, we're not talking about in the next 5 years, or it may not even be the next 10 years. But moving forward, the US dollar would start to lose its dominance. It would start to lose its high value. What this means to you as a trader is you may want to start to seek out for opportunity to short sell the US dollar, okay, with a potential sentiment move coming from such events as well. Okay, while the US dollar may not lose its dominance, in the near term, any update in speculation that the dollar may in fact lose its value in the future would also have an impact today. Okay, and that's something you want to take note of, right? Because traders always like to price in going forward, right? We don't trade based on what has happened. We trade based on what is likely gonna happen. Okay, so that's something to note. Do keep an eye. We have a couple of days over the summit, right? So Tuesday is day one, Wednesday is day two, and then Thursday is day three. Okay, so you definitely want to keep an eye on that. And then very nicely right after that, we kind of have like the Fed chairman coming to speak. Okay, so this is going to be important as well because I'm not sure how this is going to be related, but perhaps depending on what the conclusion from the BRICS summit is going to be, you never know, right? Maybe the US Federal Reserve will start to release some statement. I don't know, maybe to give back confidence or whatever, right? So obviously right now a lot of uncertainty in terms of what's likely going to happen in such events, but just want to highlight, the importance of it. What is the implication? And as a trader, you definitely want to take note of it, right? So not so much on the economic data this week, but more towards some of these speeches, some of this summit and events that's taking place in the world. Okay. Now, good. So with that said, let's take a look at our charts over here. Okay. So as usual, we're gonna kickstart it with the dollar index. Okay. Now, since mid last week, okay, the dollar index, or in fact most of this major currency pair here, has been starting to slow down significantly, and we kind of start to go into a range bound environment. So you see over here in terms of dollar index, we're basically consolidating at the moment, right? And of course, if this is going to be continued to consolidate, there's a good chance we'll see a temporary shoot back up towards 103.85. So we may still see a little bit of strength in the dollar, and the alternative here is if this just continue to go up correctively, then we'll likely see a drop and a decent pullback in the dollar. Okay, so we are opening two possibility over here. If you do a corrective move in the first half of the week, then we'll likely see weakness in the dollar for the second half of the week. If we continue to see a consolidation over here in the first 1 or 2 days, first half of the week, and going into the week, we'll be looking at dollar strength. Okay, so there are two main possibilities depending on how the market is going to develop for the first 2 days, right? Today and basically tomorrow. Okay. That's the dollar index. Okay, so if you take a look at that, because of the possibility of either a dollar strength or dollar weakness, depending on how the pattern is going to play out, some of this major here would have some conflicting point of view, right? Because we also have the other side of the currency that will impact the directional bias on some of these majors that we're looking at. Now, euro dollar, my primary forecast over here is if you can get a little bit more on the upside, okay, a little bit more push to the upside between 1.0940 to 1.0970, we may see a expanding flat, and we can look for one more drop to complete the bigger three-wave move. Okay, now you also want to be careful, because if this just continue to drop like that, we will need to update our point of view, where this may complete as a three-wave with a crawl pattern ending it, and we may then see a deeper pullback. Okay, so this one here, right now, I'm still primarily focusing for a push up and a down. Okay, and the other perspective here I'm looking at mainly is the pound, right? So I'm actually kind of like setting my two different scenario, one on the euro and then the other on the pound, right? So if, let's say, the euro continue to crawl down, okay, then my pound dollar here would likely do a corrective pullback, and then we'll look for the buy, not on the euro, but on the GBP USD. Okay, so that's something you can also utilize in terms of your approach towards trading, right? You know that the euro dollar and the pound dollar are quite closely correlated, and understanding that there might be variations in terms of how price can develop, and that will conclude in different scenarios. You can put your first scenario in one of this pair, and then your second scenario in another pair, so that in either situation, when one of it develop, you would then focus on either of this pair itself, okay, and then the other one you probably just let it go, and then you focus on the one that gives you the setup. So pound dollar here, I'm looking at a very simple three-wave pullback possibility. And if again, for the first half of the week, we can get kind of a pullback again, by tomorrow we may get the idea, depending on how market pulls back here. If you can get a slow move down, you know, that would be a decent buy trade on GBP USD for this week. Okay, so again, this one here, you can possibly go down to the hourly. Okay, and then of course you can put in a little bit more details, right? Some of you would probably be very familiar with some of these techniques already. That will put in a smaller 3-wave WXY. Okay, and of course you can even put in the fib expectation over here, equal leg. Okay, and you know, that's how you look out for it. Okay, so this one here likely by tomorrow. Just adjust that. Okay, so likely by tomorrow, we'll be able to see if we can get this set up to the upside, yeah? Okay, so pound dollar, definitely something that we can keep an eye on moving forward for the week. Now, Aussie dollar is where I'm going to be very neutral right now. I really don't like to be selling into such a move here, very corrective. But we don't have a buy yet, okay? So for me to get involved in the buy with the possibility of this 5 move being done, being completed, I want to see a first impulsive move, right? Until I get an impulsive move to the upside, there's no real reason to be looking for a buy. But that's, you know, not gonna be really rewarding to be selling around this zone. Okay. Suppose the market continue to just does a little bit of a corrective structure here. To be honest, I won't be too keen to be selling the Aussie dollar down, because this can then also form a kind of like a double topish formation before the bounce up, right? So the downside may not be as attractive anymore, simply because we have fallen quite a bit. So for that reason, you know, I'm just neutral and wait to see if we can get an impulsive move burst. Okay? So nothing much on Aussie, I think, for this week. Dollar CAD here, we do see this as a very corrective nature. We have wave 3 and wave 5 having a RSI divergence as well. So there's a good chance we may see a reversal back down, maybe, you know, towards that 50% retracement around 1.3335. But again, you know, I'm just waiting for a first impulsive drop to break below this minor low at 1.3495. Okay, so obviously I want to wait for this impulsive move, wait for a corrective pullback. Then this would give us more confirmation that the retracement may have started, and we'll be looking for the sell. Okay, so just be a little bit patient. You know, again, this is dollar Canadian. It deals with oil. Okay, there's a correlation to that. Just now I mentioned, you know, the BRICS event may have some impact. You know, whether is it on the dollar side or is it, you know, directly on some of the commodities currencies. You definitely want to pay a little bit more attention onto that, right? So dollar CAD here, I think don't need to rush things through. For me, I'm generally bearish right now based on where price is, based on the, you know, previous pattern that's developing. I'm just simply waiting for the confirmation for me to jump into that trade. Okay. Dollar yen here, we're expecting a simple 3-wave pullback. Okay. We did get out first. This seems to be developing the second wave. We'll see, right? Because if this comes down here like that, it may not come to the 50, right? Because this little pullback here seems a little bit steep and deep. So if you kind of look at it as a equal leg movement, right? 1, 2, 3. It's probably not going to come to the 50%, but probably end just somewhere there, and then this can bounce, right? So to me, you have time, right? Of course, we're running this on Monday, but the idea here is you can give it time, maybe come back on Wednesday, okay, for dollar yen, and see how the market is gonna evolve and develop. Suppose by Wednesday you come back to dollar yen, you start to see this come back down. Okay, you can then of course put in your channel here, put in that Fibonacci expectation to look for areas to look for buy. Okay, but if this just keeps going up like that, okay, breaking this top, then you probably just need to wait until next week, okay, because then we don't have an obvious buy trade set up. Okay. So we're neutral now because it can go both sides, right? It can come down sharp, and this would do a deeper pullback from here on, maybe, you know, towards this zone before the next push up, you know, to kind of retest the bottom of a trend line. Or you can, as I mentioned, do a simple move here and then just push back to retest the top of the channel. Yeah, so you just need to really some charts here, right? You just need to give it time, follow through with the market to let the market tell you exactly which has a higher probability of developing, because some of this here, as we are looking at it today, we don't have that clear pattern. Okay, so you just need to be patient on that. Gold. Okay, gold here, I'm pretty much interested to see if it can get a bounce, right? Kind of like a retracement after this little drop here. The market is basically doing this very correctively. Okay, so you see a lot of overlaps, right? Down, up, down, up. Even within here, you can see it's starting to slow down significantly. So I'm not too keen to sell at where we are. Okay, if we get a pullback, short term, we can look for buy, and then maybe somewhere there, if we have the right pattern, we can look for a sell at the top. Okay, selling at the bottom may not be very, very attractive, again, in terms of risk to reward ratio. Okay, so gold, I think this week, I'll be very much focused on, do we have the confirmation of a pullback? If yes, we can look for short-term buy opportunity back towards that 50% mark. Okay, so this one, again, you need to just give it time. Okay, crude oil came back to the 50% as we're speaking today. Okay, I think we are likely going to see another drop back down. This little push up is not very impulsive either. So we may see a pushback down towards like 75.95 or maybe around 76 area to 73.8. Okay, so this will then complete a very simple 1, 2, 3, coming back to retest the zone. So if you're trading on crude oil, okay, I think now is a pretty decent opportunity to look for sell. You can even consider like going to a lower time frame. This here may give you a lower time frame divergence. Okay, so this one here you can see a little bit, right? So again, if you're looking at a trade on oil, I think we can consider a breakout of the neckline. Okay, so that will put you somewhere around like $81.40. So as a topish formation coming into key zone, you have a neckline. You can look for the break of the neckline, and then the stop loss. If you're looking at a smaller time frame, you don't need to put all the weight at a swing high. You can consider maybe just putting it here if you get a breakdown. Okay, you don't expect this to go back up, right, after a break. Okay, so that's on crude oil. For those of you who are trading commodities, I think that's a decent opportunity this week. Indices here. So the market in terms of equities has fallen quite a bit. Okay, this is since the start of August. Okay, nothing surprising. I mean, we are not technically in a bear market yet. Okay? I don't think we're gonna rotate back into a bear market. I think we're still likely gonna be in a bullish market. It's just a decent pullback, right? The market needs to take a break, every now and then. So we're likely in a corrective of like retracement pullback after a huge move. Okay, so don't immediately jump into a conclusion and sell all your shares in your investment portfolio and then start looking to sell. I think we still have a little bit of downside, but if you're looking at long-term investment kind of portfolio, then this would start to present you maybe a decent opportunity to get involved in the buy again, right? Because I think moving forward, there's a very high possibility. I mean, when I look at this, the horizon, the time frame is not like week to week, right? We're looking at longer term investment. We're looking at like in the next quarter, in the next half a year, in the next 1 year. Okay, I strongly believe that 2024 is going to be a bullish market. Okay, that's how the market cycle works. Okay, we kind of have like a bear market and then start rotating back into a bull market, and I think 2024 would be a good run. Okay, so any pullback, if you're looking at investing, any pullback is definitely an opportunity to get involved in it. Now, if you're looking at trading the indices, right, then of course, if you can get a 3-wave move, this may complete a wave 4 structure, and we may see a short-term move lower from here on, right? So if you're trading, then of course, look for sell in terms of S&P, NASDAQ, or even Dow Jones, right? Yeah. Other than that, all this here really not much. Just very quickly, maybe to highlight on Bitcoin, right? I mean, last week we told you guys to be patient. We didn't get the break to the upside. I mean, I was looking at a potential buy, but I want to wait until a break and retest, right? So we did not get that, and You know, sometimes it's good to just be patient. Okay, and we kind of got this right. So right now, right, do you buy or do you sell BTC? Okay, what's happening in the crypto space? I think after an impulsive drop like that, you don't want to be selling immediately. You don't want to be jumping in and buy as well. Okay, you just wait. Okay, because you want to see how the market is gonna respond around that zone. Okay, I mean, if you kind of get a strong little rejection back up, then it tells you, okay, the buyers are coming back in. Wait for a pullback, and then you jump in. You don't need to catch the very bottom to make money, right? You can catch here, and this goes up, you make money there as well, right? Catching here and it goes up makes you feel good. But if you catch the very bottom, if you try to catch the very bottom and it doesn't go in your favor, then you'll be taking, you know, kind of like what we call unnecessary losses because you don't have any confirmation, right? So you don't need to really catch the bottom, just wait. Okay. So for my take here, BTC crypto market, just don't touch it, right? Just leave it as it. Okay, yeah. So those are some of the things. I think some of you guys also trade, you know, very frequent in terms of some of other indices. So let me just very quickly jump into those. Okay, so this is A50, which is the China stock market. We kind of get this move here. So yeah, we're probably completing the fifth wave already. Okay, we're starting to see a little bit of a divergence between 3 and 5. But we're getting very close to the previous low, right? So this kind of area tends to act as a kind of like magnet, okay? The market tends to be attracted to it. So there's a good chance we'll just probably come down a little bit more. Okay, around this zone, maybe we'll start to see a bounce. Okay, so don't sell, right? Don't sell it there. One of the common fibs measurement for fifth wave would be the 618, right? So that will open up the possibility of this even coming down lower here, right? Yeah, but I don't think it's a good idea to be selling here, right? Your risk to reward may not be very attractive anyway. So just be patient. I think wait for the fifth wave to complete before jumping in for A50, right? So this is China stocks. Hang Seng over here kind of broke through that. Yeah, this will open up quite a big. Let me just do a very quick measurement as well. Okay, so I'm looking at this possibility here. We're kind of testing the bottom right now. Yeah, but I think if you do the fib, let's see, right? Yeah, kind of almost there. Yeah, so I think like, you know, Hang Seng here, you probably don't want to be selling there, right? But there's no reason to be buying it now. So see if you can get a bounce first, right? Kind of V shape, then wait for the correction, then you look for the buy. Okay, until then, I don't think like A50 and Hang Seng you have anything much that you can trade this week. You probably just be patient and wait. Yeah. So these are the two. Some of you trade Nikkei, so let's take a look at Nikkei. Where is my Nikkei? Okay, take this. Okay, I think Nikkei may have something that's interesting, right? I mean, we can't have this little three-wave structure. We kind of miss it a little bit, but came very close and we have a reaction, right? So I'll just take it as that three-wave would be completed, right? So I'll take it as the three-wave is done, and then of course within it we have a very nice little three-wave move here. Okay, we have a nice three-wave move here, and then of course this coming down here we have a very nice little three-wave move, right? Okay, so I'll take it as we may have completed that, and right now we'll be focusing on can we get a buy, right? So the idea is if you can get a three-wave little corrective push here, I think we may get a buy up this week, right? If you're interested in the Nikkei. definitely pay a bit more attention to it, okay, compared to like other indices, right? If you're kind of trading index. So wait for a three-wave push to downside correctively, and of course, if you are interested in it, you can do a little bit of fibs here. 50 and 618 area is usually where it reacts, right? Okay. Yeah, so keep an eye on this. I think the upside over here, you can naturally look to test it at the top of the channel as your target. Okay. Alternatively, if you're gonna be a bit more conservative, look for 50% as your first target, and of course maybe your 618, which kind of come very close to the top. Okay. So if you're looking at index, then my suggestion is I think Nikkei this week seems to be great. Okay. Yeah, so if you're focusing on index, right, then you also need to have like multiple options for you to be focusing, because sometimes, like for example now this week, we look at Hang Seng, we look at A50. That's really not ideal pattern, right? But Nikkei here gives us a much clearer opportunity that we can focus for the week. Okay, so then naturally you want to be focusing on like Nikkei. Okay, yeah. Good. Okay, so those are some of the common ones. I see some of you here are asking, like copper. Copper is another commodities, right? Okay. Okay. So how I would see copper here is I would primarily be bullish on copper. Okay, the reason is because for commodities like this, there's a certain production value, there's a utility function. Long term we're going to be bullish, right? So that would be the backdrop whenever I approach an asset, of sort. So that will give me certain biases in terms of how I look at this pattern, right? Because I can actually look at it, from the perspective as this is a correction and we may see more downside. I mean, that is still possible, but that would hold a bearish point of view, right? So if I'm fundamentally bullish on it, and of course there's a very good chance commodities would see some rally from a macro perspective as well. So I'm gonna hold a view where this here is a bottom that may start to see more upside, right? So that's where the backdrop comes in to give me an idea. Okay, would I be holding more of a bearish view or bullish view? So for that reason, okay, that would start to guide me a little bit in terms of the patterns that I'm gonna start looking into. Okay, and I'll be looking at it from a perspective of this can be an expanding flat. Okay, so this one here will then start to see as a three-wave expanding flat. Okay, and that would then put us where this would be the bottom. Okay, this here will be our first move. This is our corrective setup, and this would likely go higher, right? So that's the context, right? So that's the backdrop that I mentioned by giving us a general sense of bias, right? So with that said, I'm gonna use some fibs expectation here as well. Okay, so that 100% will be there. We also can look out for the 618 internally. So what this means is that if we kind of get, again, a three-wave corrective pullback, that will be a buy with a first target at $3.90. We would then actually see some pullback there, and then we'll see another upside towards $4. Okay, so that's gonna be the view that I'm looking at right now. Okay, so what you can do is, again, you can go down to the lower time frame, see if you can get a corrective pullback here, right? So generally we're gonna be bullish as long as price stays above this, right, which is $3.66. Yeah, so far so good. Yeah. Okay, so that's on that. Some of you are asking about Euro Ruble. Okay, Euro Ruble, this pattern is very clear. We'll kind of get an impulsive drop. Looking at it, as a corrective development here. So there's a good chance we'll see more downside, right? Yeah. So yeah, we'll probably see more downside from here. Even as a decent correction, I think this week here definitely downside, right? Probably can come back towards like $96.70. Okay, someone is asking about Chef Yen. Let's take a quick look on that. Okay, there's really nothing there on Chef Yen. Okay, so my suggestion on Chef Yen is just don't trade it this week. Okay. Okay, Euro CAD here has a possibility of turning into a three-wave correction that looks perhaps something like that. Okay. So what we can get over here is 1, 2, and then this may come down a little bit more, and then we start to see another pushback to retest the top. Okay. That will give us a 1, 2, 3, right? So that's a possibility of how the market can develop into. So what you want to be paying attention to, okay, is kind of look to measure a little bit here. Okay, I think we can also put in a 50% mark. Okay, so somewhere around there, right? So that's the cluster of areas. If we can get a dip down, ideally correctively, then that will give you a very decent buy opportunity, right? This is basically what I draw in just now. Okay, and that would then complete, of course, that simple three-wave move. Okay, and of course the target would then be up here, right? Okay, so that's the analysis on Euro Canadian. This would be the bullish perspective that I'm gonna have for the week, but of course you want to wait for a pullback correctively first. Okay, yeah. Good. So hope that's helpful, right? We definitely have some opportunity this week, right? In terms of indices, I recall is the Nikkei. I think that's the clearest of all. In terms of like commodities, I think crude oil is the one that we cover, right? I think that's where the opportunity is starting to move now. In terms of FX pair, okay, we do have the pound dollar, okay, potentially for more upside. Euro dollar, depending on how it's going to develop, we may get something this week. Okay, I talk about the dollar CAD as well. Okay, if you can get a break and retest, that will be ideal. Okay, basically that's for the FX side of things. Okay, because Euro CAD, just now we cover it as well. Yeah, so I hope that's helpful. Okay, so before we kind of end off and conclude this session over here, I just want to very quickly let you know that we're gonna have a webinar this coming Wednesday. Okay, so it's gonna happen online. So it's actually a Zoom webinar, which means that even if you're not in Malaysia, if you're somewhere else, you'll be able to join us as well. The time here is 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. That's GMT plus 8, right? 23rd of August. The topic of this sharing session that we're gonna have is called Empowering a Portfolio with EA. Okay, basically EA stands for Expert Advisor, or AKA robot trading, right? Automation, algo trading, sort of similar names. And we'll talk about how, to introduce to you EA and what are some of the factors and the elements that you need to take note of, especially if you're very, very new to robot trading. And then once we, understood the advantages of using EA to help us in trading, I'll also share with you how you can utilize the feature of PAM. Okay, basically it calls Portfolio Allocation Management Module, which is very, very similar concept to like copy trading, right? In other words, if you like to leverage on this EA that I have, you can do it via PAM. Okay, which means you don't really need to be actively trading yourself. You can tag along in the EA that I already have, and we are trading, and then you can just follow through. Okay, and then of course, if it makes money, you're gonna get a cut in the profits of it as well. Okay, so just very quickly show you, right? We launched this PAM account back in May this year. Okay, so May, June, July, and then this is like the 4th month running. Now I've been running this EA since 2012. 2021. So to date, that's about close to 3 years. Okay, because I started that in June 2021. Okay, so kind of like 3 years ish. Okay, and it's 100% automated, right? Which means it's great for traders. We don't need to really always monitor the market. The EA runs through the market, scan for opportunities, enter and manage the trade. Everything done by itself. Okay, so this account, just to very quickly show you, for May we did about 8.8%. In June we did about 1.3. In July we did about 6.4, and August so far we're doing about 1.5. My expectation for August is probably somewhere closer to like 2%, right? Because we can't get another week this week, and maybe a little bit on next week to conclude August. The EA will probably to scout a bit more trade here, and we'll probably conclude August with about 2% profit. Okay, so it's not, again, this is not something that will guarantee you certain returns or fast profits, but you can see the consistency of it. Basically, we are aiming for about 3% on average, right? 2 to 3% on average per month. And of course, some months you're going to get like super good months. Some months you're going to get average months or even below average months. Okay, but that's how it is. Okay, so if you would like to understand a bit more in terms of like what exactly is EA trading, what you need to take note of, how can you leverage on PAM, okay, do join us on this event. Okay, so basically you can register from here. I'll drop this link here on YouTube, right? If you're kind of watching on YouTube, kind of drop this link there. If you're watching on Zoom, okay, the moderator has also dropped the link, okay, so you can actually just click onto it, and then register for this upcoming webinar. Okay, good. Last one here, I see someone asking about UK index in Australia, right? So we'll kind of very quickly take a look at that. The UK FTSE, right? Okay, I think this is obvious, right? I mean, if you take a look at where we are right now, we're kind of like having a little bit of a triple bottom. Okay, so definitely no selling here, but you want to obviously wait for an impulsive move plus a correction before you buy into it, right? If you don't see this, no trade. Okay, I don't think you want to be selling it. The only reason to be selling it is if price breaks through impulsively and does a correction below it, then you can look for sell. But until then, there's no reason to be selling because we are at support, right? Yeah, so that's on FTSE. Very quickly on that. In terms of Australia index, there's no real clear sign here as well. But we're definitely in this territory, right? This year, right? So kind of basically potentially done a 3-wave move. So again, we may see some reaction over there, but we need more confirmation. Yeah, we have a divergence as well, right? We need more confirmation. So most of this index, you basically want to wait for push up, corrective move, and then higher, right? So you need to wait for this pattern. I think the only one that we start to see some early sign of that is the Nikkei. Okay, but other index will basically, you need to wait a while, right? So same like S&P over here, right? You need to wait, okay? You need to wait and see if you get this, or if this basically just continue to push higher and then does a correction, then it changes it a little bit, okay? Yeah, so I think this week in terms of index, the best to be really paying a little bit more attention is Nikkei. The rest of it, you probably just want to be a bit more patient with it. Okay, so that's all for me from today. Okay, do join us this coming Wednesday, and make sure you RSVP because you need to get the Zoom link, right? We're not gonna do it on YouTube. It's not gonna be public. You need to register so that I can get the Zoom link for you to join in for this Wednesday EA and PAM sharing. Okay, so that's all from me. All the best to your trading this week. Okay, and for those of you who are joining us on Wednesday, I'll see you then. If not, then it'll be next week. Yeah. Okay, so that's all from me. All the best, and see you guys soon. Bye.